All right. Good evening. Good evening. With the holiday break and everything, we're a little out of practice on getting everything going here, but we're ready to go. So go ahead and get things started. Want to welcome you guys to the first LD11 meeting of 2024. If you're new to this format or to RLD, or you're a guest, your first meeting, I'm Patrick Brown. I'm chair of LD11. Before we get into the business of the day here, I just want to go through some of our housekeeping information, just kind of how we do things here with this meeting. So first things up, just with our meeting norms, one thing we ask is that, with cameras, we're a pretty chill group when it comes to that. If you want to have your camera on throughout the meeting, that's fine. If you want to turn it off, that's cool too. The only thing we really ask is that if you recognize to speak, that you just turn on your camera if you're able to, just so we can see who is speaking. We also ask that you keep your muted unless you are speaking. So, if you got the game on in the background or something like that, we don't want to bleed into the meeting. So you just stay muted. Again, like I said, if you have any comments or questions, you can definitely drop that in the chat. Otherwise, like I said, just raise your hand. If, like I said, the chair myself will recognize you to speak. Like I said, our comment as appropriate. If you'd like to follow along at home, we do have a electronic copy of the agenda. So you have a couple of options to access it. Our secretary is going to drop the link you see on the screen into the chat. So you can just click that link and pull up the agenda. Or if you're kind of a dual wielder of technology and you have your cell phone or mobile device handy, you can take a quick scan of the QR code and have that on your phone. So you can just follow along with the agenda. Again, like I said, you got some options with that. And so let's get into our business. So we'll start off with our officer reports. Let me kind of go through a couple of items that I have here for the group. First thing I wanted to, and then let me lead off, I guess, with one of the more important things. So many of you guys, especially you guys who are on our mailing list, you've probably gotten a number of emails about this. I know we sent one out the other night, mainly because of the kind of the seriousness of this particular issue. Now, I don't want to say this as an alarmist, and I don't want to get people all crazy about this, but it is, I would say, something that's very urgent. What we've gotten some reports, and I know even some people on this call, this has happened to, and really across the county, where a lot of folks who are regular voters, people who have voted in pretty much every election, primaries, local, what have you, they're finding themselves on the inactive voter list. So you understand kind of how the process works is within Maricopa County, when it comes to, just active voters and inactive voters, how they determine, I guess let me take a step back. Typically what happens is that the county recorders, they maintain and curate the voter rolls, meaning that they will send out mailers to like addresses, things like that. Typically, we've all gotten that little card that says, hey, if nothing's changed, then just don't do anything. That's one of the ways they confirm that the person who is registered to vote or whatnot lives at an address, is still there. If, for example, somebody moves or they're not receiving their mail, that address, and that gets kicked back, that's kind of one of those indicators for the elections department to say, oh, okay, we're not going to send a ballot to that house because we can't confirm that person still lives there. So my understanding is that, or at least what kind of was reported to me, is that there had been some sort of issue with the post office, and thus people who should be still active voters, who should still be on the active early voter list, have been moved into the inactive status. So what we're recommending everyone to do is just, for that peace of mind, go to beballotready.vote. We'll drop that link in the chat here in a little bit if you didn't catch it, and you can go and you can check your status. You can make sure and see that everything is as it should be, that you're an active voter. It's a very easy to use dashboard to verify that. Now, let's say you go to that website, say after the meeting tonight, and you see that, oh my goodness, I am an inactive voter. Well, guess what? No need to panic. you can actually just take care of everything online and, reactivate yourself. Then, of course, you need to make sure that, everything's good with your mail so that nothing gets kicked back, so you're not backing this thing again. If you're kind of not feeling comfortable with the website, there's also a phone number that you can call and they can help you over the phone to get that address. So one thing we're definitely recommending that everyone does is to just take that time to check their voter registration status, because the thing is, what you don't want to happen is, like, say, the presidential preference elections coming up and you're expecting your ballot and you're hearing everybody talking about it and you don't have one and you discover, oh, you're an inactive voter. So it's like taking care of that stuff early is a lot easier than, trying to take care of it, when it's like election day. So if you have any questions about that, please drop it in the chat, and we'll definitely try and answer that, or we can like talk offline or something of that nature. Next thing, Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service. So as you guys know, Monday is the Martin Luther King Day holiday. The county Democrats, the Black Engagement Committee, and the Maricopa County Voter Registration Committee, they're going to be tabling at Margaret T. Hance Park for the festival that happens there. There's an opportunity for volunteering. They'll be registering voters. They'll have petitions there for candidates and, for the different initiatives we're trying to get on the ballot, as well as a good opportunity to kind of engage and talk with the community and things of that nature. So if you are interested in either just going, just go, because it's a fun way to spend the afternoon, on a Monday. But like I said, if you want to volunteer, it's open for anybody. You have to be a member of those committees to volunteer. They're looking for volunteers to help. So that link that we'll drop in the chat will be your way to kind of sign up, pick like a shift or whatnot. Or like I say, just go up and say, hey, I'm a Democrat. I'm from LD11. If you're not from LD11, you're on the call, just tell them what LD you're from and just, help out. Or just go by and sign up a petition if you haven't had a chance to do that. So definitely a good event. And of course, there'll be the march. They'll be happening that morning. I believe that's jumping off at Pilgrim's Rest, like 8:45 a.m. Again, all this stuff will be in our newsletter. So if you miss anything, definitely, if you subscribe to the newsletter, you will get that. All right. So one last bit of information I would like to talk about, and something that I shared with the board when we had our first executive board meeting of the new year, is looking at 2024. 2024 is going to be obviously a pretty busy year. We have a major election from the top to the bottom to the top, however you want to look at it. And I think it's something that we need to kind of mentally prepare ourselves for, but also really kind of focus, how we're going to approach this. So for a moment, I want to speak to all you guys as Democrats, as activists, as members of the community, however you want to define yourself, this is going to make sense. The first thing I want to do is I want to thank each and every one of you guys on this call. The reason I want to thank you is that you have given your time to, a good cause, to a cause that's often bigger than all of us. Time that, you could be using to relax or, work some extra hours or, spend time with family. At some point or another in the previous year, you gave the gift of time to the Democratic Party, to the policies, to the things that we believe in. So first of all, I want to thank you for that. With looking at that, I want you to also understand that, we've got some challenges that we're going to be facing this upcoming election. We have, of course, a MAGA, Republican Party, if you will, that are running on things that are not even really what I like to call policy, laws, ways of governing. It's fear, it's anger, it's division. It's a lot of like really negative things that they're running on. And it is very, very easy for any of us, like I'm guilty of it, I've been guilty of it, and to really kind of go down that spiral of negativity. Now, am I saying that, we should be, kind of rose-colored glasses and everything's wonderful and whatnot? I'm not going that far, but what I'm saying is that optimism is a very, very powerful thing. Optimism, when you want to make positive change in your community, in your life, in any situation, the core of it is always going to be optimism. Our human history is littered with stories and with anecdotes and just really moments where there has been optimism to get us through dark times. I mean, we're going into the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. If there's not an example of someone who faced adversity with optimism, I mean, an individual who have faced a lot of adversity to do the right thing. He faced it with optimism. And while, like I said, we're still growing, we're still trying to get better, we're still trying to be whatever this American experiment is supposed to be, we know that optimism can move us forward. It's going to be challenging. This is going to be a challenging political cycle because, there's going to be a lot of competing interests. There's going to be within our party, within our community, across the country, because in a democracy, in a country like ours, if you truly believe that, then, many ideas can be equal, and we have to figure out how we can work together to achieve something. It's like ordering a pizza. Everybody knows what they want on their pizza. And so, what we don't want to do is we don't want to just go hungry because we're not going to order a pizza. We're not going to pick anything, so nobody's going to eat. Or we could say, all right, I like pineapple on my pizza, and I do, and I don't hate me or don't log out of the meeting because I said this, but I know not everybody digs pineapple on their pizza, but I like a lot of different things on a pizza. So maybe I say, okay, I'm not going to get pineapple. I will concede that, but maybe you like anchovies, and I don't know anybody who really likes anchovies, but I'm sure there's somebody out there. Maybe you say, okay, I won't get anchovies if you don't get pineapples, but we can agree upon sausages, pepperoni, and bell peppers. We get to eat. And for some reason, and I'm not even going to call it compromise, but consensus has somehow become like a very negative thing. It's like an all or nothing. And if you believe in equality, if you believe that, we're all equal in this whole thing, then yeah, we're not always going to get what we want. And we got to kind of do the hard work of figuring out how we can move forward. And we can do that respectively. We can do that with being positive. And we can find unity in that. We are stronger together than we are apart. And in this challenge that we're going to be facing with this upcoming election, that unity is what's going to take us through. When we talk about, just being positive, we also look at the type of change that we can expect moving forward just in our society. We're going to have people running for office. We may have some new faces, we may have some returning faces. We may have to do things differently than we've done in the past. But using that optimism, using that positivity, there's a way to do that. Because like I always say, some things are really timely. I read an article early this afternoon, and it really kind of, I think, puts into context kind of what I want to talk to you guys tonight in my report. And it's really, when we talk about the differences of Democrats and Republicans within this space, we know the differences. Within, like I said, I'll say within the family here, we know what the differences are, and the conversations we have internally aren't necessarily the conversations that our community members are having. We've all heard the whole, what's the difference? What's the difference between Democrats and Republicans? And for some people, they don't see a difference. They, everything from both two sides of the poisonous, apple or whatever, bad analogy people come up with. And unfortunately, how we communicate, how we try and share our passion for what we believe in, we unintentionally feed into that. Because like I said, you've got neighbors who they're not anything, and they're going to be people who are persuadable. So when you're having those conversations, I want to bring to an example. Now, I'm sure you're looking here going why do I have a picture of these two people? Some of you all are going I have no idea who these folks are. Some of you guys know who these people are, and you're surprised that I know who they are. So we're all on the same page here. Where you're looking at actress Sophie Turner, She's an actress. I think her big role was as in the show Game of Thrones. So next to her is her now ex-husband or soon-to-be ex-husband, Nick Jonas. And I hope I got it right because I'm not really into the Jonas Brothers. But the point being, he's a Jonas brother. So if you are of a certain age, probably younger side, you rocked out to the Jonas Brothers. I was not one of those people. Now you're wondering, what do they have to do with anything that I'm talking about tonight? Well, here's the thing. They're going through a very, very nasty divorce. And one thing we know when it comes to celebrities, be they athletes, actresses, or whatnot, when your fans feel a certain kind of way about the person you're into, sometimes we have people who don't know how to recognize that they're human beings. And so what's happening, a lot of people who are longtime Jonas Brother fans are saying some really horrible, nasty things about Sophie Turner. They are calling her everything but a child of God. And what's been really interesting, it'd be easy for Sophie Turner to, lash out, to push back, to scream and yell, call people all sorts of nasty things. But the thing is, she's just kind of just lived her best life. And she's done her job, and she's just letting her divorce process happen. And this is the quote when somebody asked her, like, hey, why aren't you saying anything back? People are calling you all these things. They're accusing you all this stuff. They're saying all these nasty things about you, kind of thing. Why aren't you, getting petty or getting scrapping with these folks? And she said, I don't say anything. I keep silent because this way people can tell where the crazy is coming from. So in closing here, as we move forward, as we prepare to knock on doors, to make phone calls, to do the work to move us forward and to get those victories and to get those votes, we should approach it with optimism and positivity. Because guess what? We don't need to be crazy or tell folks that Trump is a lunatic or use all that hyperbole, because for many people that's not going to mean anything. But by living our best lives, by talking about what we do as Democrats, which is important, and why we are the better choice, talk about our achievements, we'll just let the Republicans do their thing, and then the people will be able to tell where the crazy is coming from. So with that being said, that is my, I guess, long report to start off the meeting. I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to our first vice chair, Dave Braun.
Well, how you doing, guys? I want to spend just a couple of minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, talking about the 14th Amendment because it has become suddenly a really hot topic. And some of you have probably been following pretty closely as to what's going on, and some of you probably have not. And I think it's worth spending some minutes about it. Anyway, if you want to follow along, I suggest you pull up either hard copy, as this gentleman over here is doing, or go online. If you have your phone, there's 1,000 places, literally, which you can put in or pull up the 14th Amendment. Section 3 is typically called the disqualification clause. And basically, as we all know, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment are the sixth, are the Civil War amendments that were made part of the Constitution at the end of the Civil War. 13th Amendment abolished slavery. 14th Amendment basically overturned the Supreme Court case. I'm blanking out on right now. It basically gave the newly freed slaves the absolute right to citizenship because they were born in the United States, and actually defined who would be a citizen of the United States. And the 15th Amendment, again, gave the newly freed citizens, again, the guarantee of the right to vote. Anyway, 14th Amendment, disqualification clause, section 3 of the Constitution, of the 14th Amendment, rather. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector or president or vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state, who having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid and or comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability. Couple of things that you should notice. The disability is self-actuating. What does that mean? And that you're going to hear that word argued about. That is, by its own words, the standard. If you were a person who had previously taken an oath or aided into the insurrection of the Civil War, you lost your civil rights. You lost your right to vote. You lost your right to be a member of Congress. You lost basically your legal existence under the United States. And we're talking about people who were previously taken an oath. Well, who takes an oath? And that becomes a real issue. Members of Congress, everyone joining the military, every judge takes an oath. I took an oath every time I was elected and sworn in. And officers of the United States, anyone joining the military. So Robert E. Lee could not run for office or have the those privileges. And anyone in the state legislatures that went into rebellion, or the executives or the judges of those states. So, and that included any of the federal judges of those states. And basically, they were prohibited from holding office or having, basically prohibited from holding office. And the reason that came up as quite an issue in 1865 and 6 and 7 and so on was that the states, which picked, remember, the states legislatures picked the state senators, or the senators rather, that were sent to Washington. They were sending Confederates, and Congress kept on refusing to seat these Confederates because they had engaged in rebellion against the United States. And finally, in 1868, when the 14th Amendment was submitted and passed, that was basically made part of the Constitution. There's a fair amount of argument, believe it or not, as to whether this applies to the president, that somehow the president of the United States is not an officer as they define it. Frankly, I think that's pretty far-fetched. And basically, the Supreme Court is going to have to make a decision about that as to whether the president is a person who took an oath previously, like Trump did when he was first sworn in, whether that person could then serve again because he engaged in insurrection. That's the basis for the Colorado case. Now, the current Supreme Court has been telling us for years that they are textualists. Textualists mean the words of the Constitution really, really matter. And it's very hard for them to, after telling us for years that the words matter, not to read the actual words of the 14th Amendment and apply them. Because I think, frankly, the state of Colorado and the state of Maine, in making their decisions to exclude Trump from the ballot, made the correct legal decisions. However, we do have a fairly political Supreme Court who, frankly, it's very, very difficult to have very much respect for our current members of the Supreme Court. And I certainly don't, because I think they are incredibly political, and they will do their damnedest to get out of disqualifying Donald Trump from the ballot. The other thing that should be pointed out is the states can make different decisions on these matters. There's no requirement. There may be I suspect that there's going to be a real effort to make sure the decision is uniform. Either he's disqualified everywhere or he's disqualified nowhere. But again, for a Supreme Court that glorifies federalism, there's no reason to do that. He could be disqualified in Colorado and Maine and a dozen other states, California and New York, and still be allowed to be on the ballot of states that don't think he's disqualified from holding office. Though very frankly, if they're honest about it, in my perspective, it's very hard to see how they could allow him to be on the ballot again.
Dave, just the Sergeant of Arms. Let's go ahead and we have 30 seconds so we can go ahead and make sure we get our guests.
I'm done. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I mean, I think the 14th Amendment is pretty clear on that particular topic. So, all right, keep moving things right along. I'm going to do a quick report from our second vice chair, Michael Butts. He was not able to join us this evening, but he wanted to send over a couple of points. First one is elected PC process. Of course, we are in that season again where we need to be reelected as elected PCs. As I've mentioned in previous meetings, we kind of made an internal goal that we want to have 60 elected PCs. And I think that is very, very possible. So if you're, like I said, if you're subscribed to our newsletter, which you should be, we have a video that walks you through the process, that links you to all the documents. We'll drop them in the chat as well. But I want to talk about some options that exist and kind of put in some things. This is, of course, I'm kind of going from Michael's notes here. The first thing is that, of course, you have the option of doing what we call the petition route to becoming an elected PC. This is collecting 10 signatures from Democrats or independents who live within your precinct. So, for example, I live in the Lassen precinct, so I would collect 10 signatures from either Democrats or independents who live in the Lassen precinct. It's really just, in my case, getting a list, walking around the block maybe once or twice and getting those signatures. That is one option to do. If you're maybe new to your community or you're not really sure who's who, we will be more than happy to cut you a list of Democrats in your area so you know that when you're knocking on the door, the person answering will not, yell, "Make America Great Again," and slam the door in your face. You'll know you'll be speaking to a Democrat or maybe an independent household, which is an eligible signature. So that is one option. Now, I know that there are individuals who really value being a PC, and they're a very active member of our Democratic community. But either for a lot of very, very valid reasons, doing canvassing, knocking on doors, things like that, that is not something that, is necessarily something that they're able to do. And, the philosophy has always been there's a no wrong door approach to being, active within the Democratic space. So that brings another option. The second option is what's called a write-in. The county recorder's office, for reasons that I don't know, but it is what it is, have made the write-in form available early. Now, it's a catch to this. If you choose to go the write-in route, you can't turn it in yet because there is a particular period of time after the petitions are due with which you can file as a write-in. That is a single piece of paper that you would fill out in order to then be an elected PC. Now, here's the thing. Some people are going like, well, heck, that's way easier. Why don't I just do that? There's a little bit of, I guess, fine print to this. Each precinct is allotted on average 10 spots for elected PCs. In some situations, you may not have all 10. That's where we can appoint people to fill out those spots. Many of you on this call are appointed PCs because you wanted to become a PC. There was a space in your particular precinct, and I was able to do, some magical chair paperwork, and you became a PC. However, if there's a situation, let's say there's 12 people who want to be a PC and there's only 10 spots, there's going to be an election that's going to appear on the ballot for the primary ballot and your name will show up and you'll want to get people to vote for you. And of course, the top 10 vote getters get to become elected PCs, meaning that 2 people will not be able to be a PC because there's no spot. If you do it as a write-in, you will not appear in that ballot. People will have to actually write you in. So you would have to make sure that people spell your first and your last name correctly or however you filed in order to get elected. So I'm not going to tell you what to do, and I'm not going to, say you should do one or the other. I'm just going to explain the options that are available to you. One option is, of course, collecting your petition signatures. The other option is, of course, going the write-in route. Either way, should, like I said, there not be a contested election or whatnot, you become an elected PC once you complete that and get everything filed. And then you're an elected PC with all the rights, privileges, and things that go with that. I do want to say this it is important that we do at minimum, and we've been very, very good about this in our LD, that we exceed the 30 elected PC threshold. We've historically averaged about 50 PCs each cycle, give or take. The reason why we want to make sure we're always well above that 30 is in the case that, say, I'm going to pick on one of our electeds. So I see Representative De Los Santos. So let's say hypothetically that he gets a phone call from the White House in, say, January of 2025. And they say, Representative De Los Santos, we want you to come and be a part of the second term of the Biden-Harris administration. And Representative De Los Santos says, absolutely. But unfortunately, I have to step down from the state legislature. Well, if we have 30 or more PCs, we have 60 elected PCs, then guess what? We get to go through the process to help choose who would be appointed to finish Representative De Los Santos's term. Then, of course, those 3 people would go to the Board of Supervisors, and then they would choose the person who would go from there. Many of you guys went through this process a couple years, I guess a year or 2 ago, when we did this. If we don't have those 30, then we don't get to do that. And so if, we could be happy for, Representative De Los Santos, he's going to DC and, everything like that. But then we don't really get a say on who would probably succeed him. So that's one of those big, important things. The other part is it gives us more voting strength at the state committee meeting, which I'll talk about later because I'm really going on a tangent here. So with that being said, I want to encourage each and every one of you guys who are interested to become an elected PC. If you have questions, drop them in the chat, email me, give me a call. Most of y'all have my number anyway, and we'll be more than happy to help you navigate that process if you have any questions. All right, I've talked too much, so I'm going to hand it over to who's next. I'm going to hand it over to our secretary. Oh, Tanisha, you're up. Do you have anything to report?
I apologize. I'm taking notes. I do not have anything to report. Thank you.
All right. So next thing up is our treasurer's report.
Okay, So I'm going to be reporting for both November and December. For November, we raised $280 and spent $109.54. As of November 30th, we had $3,365.13 in our bank account. And so for November, we spent mostly on our monthly fees since we didn't have any meeting like Zoom. Oh, sorry about that. My computer keeps flickering. So those are all monthly fee like ActBlue, Bluehost for hosting our website, and MailChimp for a mailing list. So nothing unusual. December, we raised $385 and we spent $150.13. And as of December 31st, we have $3,369.97 in our bank account. And we got our $385 came from ActBlue, only since we didn't do any in-person meetings. And as you can, I'm so sorry, my computer keeps flickering. Okay, so as you can see, it's our December expenses were mostly our monthly expenses. The only thing unique was the Google annual renewal fee, which was $12, and an QT, which was ICE for the holiday party. And I would like to emphasize for our holiday party, we raised $280 from seven fellow Democrats. I thank you anybody who donated for our holiday party and our recurring donors. And we'll give a link if you guys want to donate. So rely on small donations from people like you.
All right. Thank you, Sadia. And as always, we appreciate, your kind donations, be they big, bigger, or modest. We like big. All right. Let me go ahead and turn things over to our Sergeant at Arms, Robert Branscombe.
Good evening, LD11 Democrats. My report for this evening. First one comes from AZ Central about the Watchdog Group who's being sued in Cochise County over delays in election-related records. A Watchdog Group, American Oversight, has filed a lawsuit against Cochise County officials in Arizona, alleging delays in providing records related to the county's controversial management of the 2022 election. The lawsuit filed in Cochise County Superior Court demands the immediate fulfillment of numerous requests seeking transparency in matters ranging from the attempted hand count of all ballots to taxpayers' cost or hiring outside attorneys. The Watchdog Group, based in Washington, D.C., previously sued Arizona Senate over the 2020 election ballot recount, receiving a settlement of $153,000 and $43,000 in attorney fees after a prolonged legal battle. The recent indictment of Cochise Supervisor Tom Crosby and Peggy Judd adds urgency to the records request as American Oversight aims to uncover details about the election administration changes and potential interference with democratic process. The lawsuit names 3 county supervisors, including Crosby, Judd, who were indicted, and requests reasonably attorney fees, along with any other relief the court may grant. The record sought to provide insight to the county's actions before and after the November 2022 election, covering aspects such as attempted hand count, refusal to certify results, exploratory and cost ballots, security measures, and communications with conspiracy theorists. Despite the county's partial response and claims of diligently working on requests, the Watchdog Group argues that transparency is crucial, especially with the 2024 election approaching, to inform the public about officials' alignment with election denial movement and their impact on the election administration. And finally, also from AZ Central, one of these 3 Democrats will replace Representative Athena Solomon at the Arizona legislature. Democrats in Tempe area conducted a virtual meeting on Tuesday night to select 3 potential replacements for former state representative Athena Solomon. Jevin Hodge, Deborah Nardozzi, and Jacob Rayford emerged as the top choices through the ranked choice voting from a pool of 9 candidates. During the meeting held in the Legislative District 8 Democrats, the selected names will now be submitted to Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, who will appoint one of them to the complete Solom's term, concluding in January. The timeline for the board's decision remains uncertain. Solomon resigned from her position to lead Arizona campaigns for Reproductive Freedom for All, formerly known as the National Abortion Rights Action League. Jevin Hodge, a 2022 Democratic nominee for Congressional District 1, emphasized his understanding of the challenges faced by everyday Arizonans, citing endorsements from figures like U.S. Rep. Ruben Gallego, Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego, and Phoenix City Council woman Keisha Hodge Washington. Deborah Nardozzi, a former district chair, was praised for her track record in winning campaigns, while Jacob Rayford, the current first vice chair of LD8, highlighted his involvement with the ACLU and activism on police-citizen interaction issues. The selection process utilized ranked choice voting with the candidates listed in order of preference by precinct committee members through specific rankings were not disclosed, presenting these three finalists as having an equal share of the votes. And that is my report for this evening, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sergeant Arms. And it's almost like we said his name and he magically appeared. Jacob Rayford is in the house, so welcome to LD11. Want to make sure we shout you out there. All right, let's get into some elected official updates. I see a couple of our electeds here, and y'all know how I like to just randomly pick on folks. So we'll start at our state level. I see Senator Miranda. I know I've been picking on you, Representative De Los Santos. So I'll let y'all decide how you want to go. But I've heard that y'all been got some stuff going on at the Capitol with the start of the year. So I'll let you guys share that out with us.
Okay, I'll go ahead and take the lead here. You're right. It all depends what you're talking about. There's a lot going on. Opening day just happened. And by the way, I'm your Senator, Catherine Miranda. And welcome everyone. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. I hope you had blessed holidays. There's many things going on, Patrick. From education fighting to budget. We don't know. We're in the deficit right now. Right now, what I'm trying to do with the Senate caucus is to create our own budget. The governor has her budget. The Republicans have theirs. And I'm trying to just be forward thinking and actually feel like we're already in the minority. So I'm trying to get my caucus to think like we're already, in the majority. We're already in the majority. What kind of budget would we present? And that's the budget I want to present from our caucus, because as the governor and the Republicans will be not agreeing, maybe the Democratic budget can be that equalizer, can be that the good budget, from the arguments that I know are coming ahead. So that was a meeting today that we had. We're going to discuss it more and try to create our own budget. So I'll get back with you on that. Some things that's happened this past week is a relaunch of the Black Caucus. I reported last meeting that I was the chair of the Black Caucus because we did not have representation at the time. But Representative Quante Cruz is now our chair for the caucus, and we did a relaunch. So she is 100% in charge of the Black Caucus. I told her that I'm always here and I'm always going to help and be involved. I'm definitely going to be involved, stay involved. The first meeting of this relaunch was phenomenal. She had the room filled with leaders. Former Representative Bolding was there. Representative Clovis Campbell was there, Senator Leah Landrum Taylor, Cody Williams. I just can go on and on. The room was filled with top leaders and our community. We had the Department of Housing there to make a report. Director Thornell from the prison system, he made a report. So as you said, Patrick, let's stay optimistic because change is coming. And that's the best thing to do, is stay optimistic. I'm presenting several bills, mainly focusing on the Arizona State Hospital. As I reported last time, I was working on homelessness, and we made some gains in homelessness. And now I am springboarding from that into mental illness, because that's what I've discovered on the streets physically out there when I was on my homeless mission. So I have several Arizona State Hospital bills coming across the way here. I have a breast bill, a breast cancer bill that's going to be named after my mother who passed away from breast cancer. It's called the Isabel Act. And what that's going to do is going to be better than a mammogram. Instead of waiting for results or going through that uncomfortable examination that all of us women know what that entails, it's pain-free, and we know right away if we have cancer or not at the end of the exam, which is a good 20 minutes. So I'm trying to get that across as well. I do have a presidential election bill that is going to be coming out, and it would prohibit a candidate for president from appearing on the ballot if they've been indicted for a violation of the Federal Espionage Act. So that's what my bill is going to be about. So stay tuned for more on that. I haven't met with my policy advisor to really break down exactly all the areas in there, because it's new language for them as well. Another update is I received a call today from a constituent, and I think I see Signa Oliver, yes, online with us. And it involves you, Signa, our school board member for Phoenix Union High School District. This part of the community wants to have an open discussion about taking a stronger action to circumvent youth against youth violence in our South and West Side schools. It's in light of the moves taken by the Gilbert schools. So I don't know, Signa, if you want to talk more about that, or just wait till we meet and have a plan of how we're going to move forward on that. But I would love your input and guidance as well on that issue. Let's see. I think that's it. We did have our first education meeting today, just to extend a 10-year sunset for charter boards and another board. It didn't get heated. It's not going to get heated yet. You know, ESAs are still a concern for us. And I do want to thank Carmen Terrell. She has stayed in touch with me. She's even come to visit me at the Capitol. I appreciate your concerns, Carmen. Your concerns are our concerns when public schools are being attacked and ESAs are still accumulating, and they probably still will until it gets to the governor's desk, of course, with the veto. But the Republicans really don't think nothing is wrong with our ESA system going on right now. So that fight will continue. And as I think that's it. That's all I have right now. And I'll take any questions. And I do want to, I commend our Assistant Minority Leader, Representative Dallas Santos, and his leadership. We had a chamber breakfast at Chase Field, and he represented us very well, just top notch with his leadership, and just represented our democratic values. And Representative Oscar De Los Santos, I want to just thank you. And I look forward to this next session working with you for our community. So thank you for that.
Senator, I do have a question.
Mhm.
You know, Katie Hobbs has a line item veto, and I'm wondering why she hasn't used it against the expansion of the scholarships, the funding, take away the money.
Well, I mean, that was last session. I want to give that whole
That would blow up.
that whole executive the benefit of a doubt of adjusting in that new seat, hiring her staff, and everything is set now. So I'm going to stay optimistic this next session. We're on a roll now. She has her full staff. They're working very hard to represent our public schools, and I think she may have a plan like that. So stay tuned.
All right. Any other questions for Senator Miranda? All right. Assistant Leader De Los Santos.
Hey, everybody, Representative Oscar De Los Santos. Assistant Leader just means I'm the second in command in the House for the Democrats. And I want to thank Senator Miranda for her incredible work on the SMI population and on the homelessness issue. SMI are folks who are experiencing serious mental illnesses. So some of the most vulnerable people in our communities who are really bearing a lot of the brunt of our lack of investment. So thank you, Senator, for taking on that huge task. It's incredibly important. I want to talk about two things. One, the Democratic joint policy priorities. So very excited to announce that I think for the first time, I'm told for the first time ever, the House Democrats and the Senate Democrats came together this year to, over the course of several retreats, to have a unified policy priorities document. So we got into the nitty-gritty, outlining what are the top roughly 20 things we're going to do if we take power. And the reason this was so incredibly important is that if and when we take power in 2025, we don't want to be caught flat-footed, right? The legislature moves quickly, and we find out we win the first Tuesday in November. We're sworn in basically the first Monday in January. So we're not going to have much time to prepare. So we're trying to start that work early, trying to start it now, so that we can start getting our ducks in a row, crossing our T's and dotting our I's, so that we can go in full force and hit the ground running. So on Monday, which was the first day of session, we released our priorities. I'm going to paste that document into the chat, a link to it. And I won't go through all of it, but there is some really good stuff here. We're starting with the economy and making Arizona affordable by lowering costs. So we're talking about ensuring that childcare is more affordable, putting caps on prescription drug prices, paid family and medical leave for working families. We're talking about homeowner assistance programs and other housing programs to make sure that housing is affordable, because we know that's one of the biggest issues for voters in 2024. We also have a huge bucket on education and investing in children. So, making sure that we're raising teacher pay and pay for other educators like nurses and school bus drivers and cafeteria workers. Of course, we're going to rein in the ESA program that the Republicans have put in place that has gone off the rails. We're talking about ensuring and expanding the school lunch program so that no child in our community goes hungry. When it comes to healthcare, we're looking to expand kids' care. I mean, it's, the wealthiest nation in the history of humanity. By God, children should be able to go see the doctor without their parents going broke. We're going to make it happen by expanding kids' care. Of course, we're going to expand reproductive freedom. We're going to rip away the draconian 1864 ban on abortion that criminalizes doctors for providing basic reproductive health care. And we want to enshrine the right to contraception in Arizona law. We know that far-right Republicans across the country are not just attacking abortion, they're also starting to make it illegal to even access contraception. So we want to make sure that does not happen here in Arizona. We've got big water issues, and we're going to make sure that our water is protected statewide and that families actually have access to water, and that when people in Arizona buy a home, they know they have a long-term water supply for that home. And then we're going to do a whole lot on civil rights, from protecting LGBT rights to honoring Indigenous people to expanding and protecting our democracy through a voting rights Bill of Rights. It's going to be at the top of our list, along with making sure that we have gun safety laws in place, from talking about right now, actually, pediatricians, it is illegal for them to speak with their children, with patients, about gun safety. And we know that suicide is and gun violence are some of the leading causes of death for children. So we want to make sure we're addressing that, as well as making sure that people who have been convicted of domestic violence do not have access to weapons. So that is what the joint House and Senate Democrats came together. That's where we are now. I expect the list to grow as we get closer, but all of this, enacting this, depends on one thing and one thing only: flipping the House and flipping the Senate this November. We are 11 months away. 11 months. And the work we do between now and then is going to determine whether this list is a random PDF on our website that is a list of goals, or whether it is the law of the land. And that is up to us. That is truly up to us. I mean, we can win this state. We've done it. We won the race for governor, the race for Senate before, the race for Attorney General and Secretary of State. We only have to flip 2 seats. So we can do it, but it's going to take all of us working together. So that is the big update I have from the legislature. I'm happy to answer questions, but before then, I did want to put a plug for myself and Senator Miranda and Representative Quinones, who couldn't be here on the call. He is working his day job, I guess his night job, to sign our petitions to make sure we can get on the ballot and return to the Capitol to keep fighting for our priorities. So I dropped that link in there. Please, if you live in the district, sign our petition. But I will leave that there, and I'm happy to take any questions if you have them.
Okay. Representative, Senator, thank you for the updates. We look forward to, your work on our behalf at the state legislature, as well as, future updates. I am going to use this opportunity for a bit of a plug. Everything's, there's going to be a lot going on. As Representative De Los Santos says, the work we're doing now is what is going to pay dividends in the November election. We got to stay knowledgeable. We got to stay active. We got to know what's going on. And in March, we're going to do some real, interesting deep dives into what's going on. And I think, it's a good opportunity for all of us to come together in person. So I'm just going to stop there. Like I said, it was going to be cryptic. And we're going to move into our special guests here. So we got some folks who are running for office. I'm going to start with our first guest tonight. His name is Jonathan Hill, and he is a candidate for the Arizona Corporation Commission. So, Mr. Hill, I'm going to go ahead and I believe it's Dr. Hill. I'm sorry, I don't want to forget that. But go ahead and give you the floor, and go ahead.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation to meet you all virtually. I see a couple familiar and friendly faces in the crowd here. So yes, my name is Jonathan Hill. I'm running for the Arizona State Corporation Commission. And usually when I tell people that, the first thing I have to explain is what the Corporation Commission is. So if you're not familiar with it, they are the body of the Arizona state government that is responsible for a lot of things, but primarily for regulating utilities. So all the state utilities that are commercially owned, like APS, those are monopolies, essentially. If you move into their zone, you have no choice of who to buy power from. And so the Corporation Commission is a way for the voters to basically have oversight on those monopolies. And so whenever your power bill goes up, that's because APS went to the commission, asked for a rate increase, and then it was granted by the commission. And so the commission has the right to accept those proposals or reject them, depending on how they vote and the evidence presented to them. The commission also does a lot of other great things around the state. They're in charge of railroad safety, pipeline safety, securities regulation, all things that people usually don't worry about until something goes really, really wrong. And then suddenly that is the biggest thing in their lives. For example, I live in downtown Tempe. Very few of my neighbors had ever heard of the commission until 2020, when we had a train derail right in the center of downtown, spilled a whole bunch of chemicals in Tempe Town Lake, huge fire caused part of the bridge to collapse. And they, wanted to know who dropped the ball on this. Well, it was partially the Corporation Commission. They're in charge of the safety of those bridges and those railroads. So, and I understand I'm guessing no one on this call based on the LD boundaries, but some of your neighbors over in Litchfield Park, for example, are having an issue with their private water company. They're basically not getting proper water pressure in their houses. And because it's a privately owned utility, that falls under the jurisdiction of the Corporation Commission. And so our lone Democrat on the commission currently, Anna Tovar, has been holding town halls and meetings trying to get that company to rectify that situation as quickly as possible. So again, I hope none of you have to deal with the Corporation Commission. I hope everything continues working great for you. But just in case, it's always great to have a friendly commission and a commission that's really going to step forward and protect Arizona consumers. And unfortunately, right now, we are in a situation where of the 5 commissioners, we have 4 Republicans and 1 Democrat. So we're losing a lot of very important votes by a margin of 4-1. And so it's really important that we get more Democrats elected to the commission. Now, in this election cycle in 2024, there are 3 seats on the commission that are open. So you can sign and vote for 3 candidates. Unfortunately, right now, there's only 2 candidates, myself and Anna Tovar. We're working on trying to identify a third. But in the meantime, as Representative De Los Santos was saying, the biggest way you can help us, and the main thing I want to ask you for tonight, is to go online and sign our petitions. For this office in particular, signatures are a huge challenge. Because it's a statewide office, we have to collect around 7,000 signatures just to appear on the ballot. So that's the same number of signatures that soon-to-be Senator Gallego has to collect. That's the same number of signatures that Governor Hobbs had to collect. But obviously, as Corporation Commission candidates, we have far fewer resources to collect those. And so every signature that we get is extremely helpful. And so I will post the online eQual link in the chat in a minute. If you could go there tonight, log in, sign for me, and then it gives you the option to see others who you're eligible to sign for, and just go in and sign for all your Democrat candidates. They'll all appear in there for you, and you can, in a couple minutes, help a lot of candidates out. So with that, I will stop and just ask if there are any questions, either about myself or the commission. I see Carmen has her hand up.
So Carmen, go ahead. Do you have a question?
No.
Oh, was that Carmen? If you want to just type it in the chat, I can read it from there. Oh, looks like she
Yeah,
has
I
to
think
be
we're having like some technical difficulties here. So Carmen, if you could drop in the chat, I know like I did the whole request for you to unmute, so I'm not sure if it's not going through here, but if you can drop in the chat, we'll be happy to ask on your behalf, or we can kind of try and circle it back around here while you do that. Any other questions for Jonathan?
Okay,
All right.
well, I'll just say thank you very much again for the opportunity to introduce myself. And like I said, I'll drop my eQual links in the chat, as well as my website. So if you want to find out a little bit more about me, or if you want to contact me directly and ask me questions afterwards or anytime during the campaign, feel free to do so. So thank you again.
All right, thank you. All right, so we have another guest tonight. Like I said, this is important office night here. We have Dr. Laura Metcalf. She is a candidate for Maricopa County School Superintendent. So I'll go ahead and the floor is yours, Dr. Metcalf.
Well, thank you, Mr. Brown, and thank you, LD11. I'm excited to talk to you tonight. I know I only have a few minutes, so I'll make it brief. First of all, I probably should extend my appreciation for coming on this evening, and I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I have 27 years of public school experience. I've done everything from being a high school teacher to being a principal to being a lunch lady, and I've cleaned bathrooms. So I've pretty much done I've done career and technical education and special education as well. And so, and I've worked in the Maricopa County Superintendent of Schools office. I was the small schools administrator, and my role in that office was to go out to the small schools and help them with whatever they needed. And by saying that, they never have enough people. So again, I was a lunch lady in Mobile, and then I would drive down the street, and in the same day, I was the director of curriculum and instruction at Gila Bend. So that was a service that office provided to small schools in Maricopa County at that time. Presently, there are no services being provided by this office. The other thing that I wanted to kind of point out is that there are $5 to $6 million of taxpayer money missing out of this office. And that is unacceptable, absolutely unacceptable. And at this point in time, in May of 2023, the Board of Supervisors ordered a forensic audit to take place to find that money. And so at that point, moving forward, in October of 2023, that forensic audit started. And if you saw the story in azcentral.com last week, Sasha Hupka, who is the reporter that I've been working with on this matter, dropped in there that the forensic audit is going to cost $160,000 minimum to be able to find the missing money that is already in place, or the missing money that's already out of place, I should say. So we have a lot of fiscal irresponsibility from the incumbent, who is a Republican. His name is Steve Watson. And I'm also running against he and 2 other MAGA Republicans. So I am the only Democrat running. And at this point in time, I've got kind of an uphill battle to win this seat, to collect signatures and to obviously receive donations to keep this campaign alive, to keep going. The other thing that I'm planning to do to take care of this issue, I always get that question, is I'm looking to bring fiscal integrity into this office day one. I'm going to hire either an outside agency or an embedded full-time person who will be the director of fiscal compliance. And that person's role will be nothing more than to look at and make sure that all expenditures in and out of that office, and for the accommodation school district, which serves students who are in juvenile detention, is all of those expenditures are in alignment with state, federal, and county regulations and laws and policies and procedures. And there will be frequent reports every quarter at least, and they will be posted for anyone to be able to read and understand. The fiscal integrity, in this office has taken a back turn because there hasn't been any accountability and no oversight. And that will cease with me. That will be able to be cleaned up. It will be regulated, and it will be communicated. That is the main issue in this office. There are many. That is one solution that I am providing. As I mentioned, no services to any schools are being provided in Maricopa County. And I will be providing, I've been speaking to superintendents over the last 15 months. We will be providing teacher professional development, curriculum and instruction support, special education guidance, and other elements that are going to be helpful for the schools in Maricopa County to be able to function and flourish. So I hope I'm not taking up all my time, Mr. Brown, but that is kind of the 50,000 foot level of what I do, of what that, let me tell you what the office does. That's probably what I should do. This office oversees school board elections. It also replaces school board members who step down from their seats if they have to quit or if they don't finish their terms. There is a replacement named by this particular, the school superintendent, and they also oversee the elections for school bond overrides or school budget overrides and school bonds. So this office has some familiar roles that many people probably are familiar with. So with that, I will open it up to questions. I see there's something in the chat. I will take a look at that. If you could read the question, I'm going to try to get to it here in the chat.
I'll help you out here.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and read the question. So the question is
Sounds
from
good.
Carmen, and her question
Okay.
is, what's being done about students requiring ESS services? I asked because I feel like these ESAs, or I'm assuming ESSs, aren't allowing them to have enough social skills and other vital skills for them to be productive and successful in life. In my opinion, I think ESAs are discriminatory.
So, yes, so for special education students, any of the money that's taken for the ESAs, the empowerment scholarship accounts, if somebody takes that money and goes to a private school or does go to a micro school, for example, those organizations are not required to provide any services to students who have special needs or learning disabilities. And so, yes, they are being discriminated against, but those protections are part of the public schools. Thank you very much, Marcus. I appreciate that for signing my petition. Those laws are protections for students who have disabilities. When that money is taken away, as AG Mays has mentioned earlier, they risk that discrimination being in place. And that is in of itself an entirely new hornet's nest when a child who has a learning disability does not receive services if they take that money. That is a disaster that can happen, waiting to happen. And so, yes, it is discriminatory, and that should not be part of the ESAs. We shouldn't have ESAs anyway, but let alone discriminating against a child just for the sake of money. That is morally, ethically, and I can't even begin, abominable and untenable in my mind. So it is discriminatory. And as far as services goes, what my office will be providing is the school districts have asked for services for special education directors to be able to be grown and trained to be able to oversee those laws in their districts. And this office will be contracting and providing those services for special education directors, aspiring special education directors, to be able to move forward and move up and be able to oversee that. But as far as ESAs go, this office technically does not have any jurisdiction of that because it is a state program. But I will be working with legislators, Senator Miranda, any other legislators in this state, to be able to make sure that if we don't get it done this year, we get it done next year, to either outlaw or completely eliminate all ESAs in this state.
All right, Dr. Metcalf, I have a quick question for you. Well, hopefully it's a quick question. I know one of the roles of the office is to, of course, if there are vacancies for school board, either because no one ran or someone steps down or what have you, that's, the county superintendent fills that position. I know a big issue that is happening across the county that's impacting our district, but it's really impacting several different districts, is the fact that the process is, I would say, unusually or unnecessarily long. What are your thoughts on addressing that issue and potentially either streamlining it or, being able to fill these positions when there are people who are interested in doing that work?
So, yes, Patrick, you're right. Right now, under the law, let me state the law. The law states that there are two flavors for that. One, the superintendent can select a replacement for a school board member who steps down, or the other one is that the school district can make recommendations of 3 top candidates to the superintendent's office to then select. Law states that has to be posted and within 30 days, and those appointments should be made as quickly as possible. I believe it's within 60 days at the most. With that in place, I will not be taking in a pile of applicants and going through all of them on my own and selecting one. I will be asking the school districts to take those applicants, to review them, to vet them, and to choose their top 3 candidates, and then send them to my office for consideration, where at that time I will also speak to those candidates and make a selection based on who the school district prefers. School districts have been left out of that process at this point up until this time. And Mr. Watson believes that he can make those decisions for school districts. That is not true. I don't believe that. School districts have to be able to know who they want on their boards, and they are the best ones to make that decision. I would then be the final decision based on what their recommendations are and be able to help them fulfill the needs on their boards and so forth. And that will be done within 30 days. And I will go out to every school district and I will personally swear in those school district board members rather than having them truck all the way down to downtown Phoenix to have me do it, because even though I should do it, I will come to them. They don't have to come to me. And it will be done within 30 days, and the school districts will have input on who they want on their school boards.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Dr. Metcalf? All right, thank you for joining us tonight. Oh, yeah, did you have anything else you wanted to share with the group?
I was just going to say we've got the links to my website for electronic signatures and to make a donation. I have no problems asking for money. And the newsletter. We have a newsletter that you can use, sign up for, and we'll make sure that you know where I am. And by all means, keep communicating with us on what's going on. So donations, equals, and the newsletter, and the MLK Day. We are marching in the MLK Day in Mesa. So we'd love to have everybody out there to celebrate that important holiday more than anything. So thank you. That's all I've got. But thank you so much for the time.
All right, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank
Okay,
you.
everybody. We are now in the, I like to call this the lightning round of information. As always, everything that we cover in the meeting, it's recorded. It'll go up on our YouTube channel, so you can always, recap or share with friends, or you can catch it in our newsletter as well. So let me go ahead and go through a couple of pieces of information here, and then we'll go ahead and kind of wrap things up. So first things first, something really awesome happened. The Maricopa County Democratic Party applied for a grant. The purpose of this grant was to positively impact blue districts who have some sort of challenges when it comes to voter turnout. While LD11, we have done a lot of great work over the years in increasing our voter turnout. When I think when I first really got involved with the LD, some elections we're hovering around 50, the mid 50s, high 50s type of thing, to what I know just using like the 2020 election, that presidential cycle, we had a 70% turnout. So for our district, that was a really, really strong turnout. However, when you compare to other parts of the county, other parts of the state, you have folks who are regularly, turning out, 80%, 90% of their elected for these elections. So with us, we're a Democratic district. We're a blue district. I think we're like a plus like 55 Democrat, like plus 60 Democrat. So we overwhelmingly vote. But the thing is making sure that our community turns out, so that all those Democrats that are at least on paper that are out there are folks who are, supporting our policies. We want to get them turned out. And so one of the part of this grant is helping fund a community event to turn out the community. So I just actually got this information earlier this afternoon because there was a lot of background stuff with, getting the location, all that stuff done. But I can officially tell you that on February 10th from 1 to 3 p.m., we'll be having this community event. We're going to have like bounce houses and stuff for the kids, like face painting. We're gonna have a DJ. We're gonna have food trucks. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're also gonna have, our elected officials, wink, wink. I see y'all there. Turn out to, of course, meet the community. Here's what the ask is. One, we need to get the word out. So of course, we'll be doing our part on the LD to help get that information out. The county party is gonna be helping us as well. But things like this are relational. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, talk to folks that and say, hey, are you going to El Raposo Park on Saturday? I hear it's going to be a lot of fun. Bring the kids, stuff like that. So you're going to see a lot of this stuff over the next couple of days. We're going to start really pushing this out. So we're just asking for your help to get that information out to the community. Next bit of information, we got a state party convention coming up. Saturday, January 27th, we're going to be having for in a long time, we'll be having an in-person state committee meeting. It'll be from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at Phoenix College. If you are a state committee member, and you are because you got an email from me earlier today, if you've forgotten, this is a required meeting. There will be business that will need to be voted upon at this convention. It will not be hybrid. That's been one of the questions. If there's going to be a hybrid meeting, it is going to be fully in person. So you got to be present to play. Or if for whatever reason, state committee members, you cannot attend, you will need to submit your proxies. I won't go into the details because I sent an email to you guys that breaks all this stuff down. If you are not a state committee member and you're curious to see how this, how we roll in person, this is, of course, open to Democrats. So we will drop information in the newsletter about, basically, what you need to do to attend. It's really simple. If you're a Democrat, show up, sign in, and enjoy the show. All right. that is like I said, the lightning round of information here for this point. So one thing I want to do before we wrap things up here, I want to go ahead and open up the floor for any announcements. Please keep announcements to 60 seconds or less. Otherwise, our Sergeant at Arms will mute you mid-sentence. He's been itching to do that all night. So, you know, he's got time. So with that being said, the floor is open for any announcements. Announcements going once. Announcements going twice. All right. Again, I want to thank you guys for joining us this evening. There's a lot of things that, you know, you could be doing on a Wednesday evening. You could be watching like, you know, reality TV or like documentaries on HBO Max, playing video games or whatnot. But you took some time out of your busy lives to come, you know, be engaged in this process. So to kind of wrap things up, I want to kind of highlight some really important information, especially that we talked about tonight. You know, this election cycle, the news and just kind of the typical stuff will be about the top of the ticket. It'll be, you know, whatever, you know, the Republican nominee is going to be. It's going to be, you know, Joe Biden. You know, we're gonna hear a lot about you know, Ruben Gallego, and that's not a bad thing because these are important things. But we also have to remember that a lot of the things that impact our just everyday lives happens locally. It'll be things that'll be happening at the state legislature. It'll be things happening at the city council. It'll be things happening, you know, at school boards. It's going to be happening at these county offices. We've got, you know, a candidate for county superintendent. We've got candidates running for, you know, board of supervisor, for county recorder. And I want you to understand the Maricopa County, we're going to be on the map. We are the 4th largest county in the nation. We're going to be important into how Arizona goes. As Maricopa County goes, so does the state of Arizona for, you know, these major elections that are happening. So it's going to be a lot going on. And for a lot of our community members, you know, it's not that people don't care. Never say people don't care about politics or they don't care about their community. They do, but the thing is, in the order of things that they have to worry about and take care of in a day, it may be pretty low. The other thing is, going back to my earlier statements about, you know, positivity and optimism, one of the things that, you know, the Republican Party, especially the MAGA aspect of that, is banking on is negativity, because when things are negative, people don't want to deal with it. And so a lot of people are disengaged from politics because they just don't want to deal with the drama. So my challenge to all of you guys between now and when we come together in January, I want you to do 2 things. It's going to be a really, really simple thing. The first challenge is I want you to talk to somebody in your neighborhood, your next door neighbor, the person down the street, somebody that, you know, you see on a regular basis, but maybe you don't really talk to. Introduce yourself, ask them how they're doing, you know, say, hey, you know, how was your holiday? I'm your neighbor, you know, I live on the corner. Just, you know, I've seen you, I haven't really said hi. I just want to be, you know, a friendly neighbor. It's 2024, you know, positivity. Have that conversation, see how they're doing. Start developing that relationship. Because once you develop that relationship, then you can maybe have that conversation about, hey, do you have a kid that goes to the schools? You know, Signa Oliver. She's on the school board. You ever met her? She's a really nice lady. You know, we can start having those political conversations, because the thing is that this is going to be relational, and we got to start with that. That's the first thing. Talk to your neighbor. Here's the second thing I'm going to ask you to do. There is somebody you know who is engaged in this process, but they don't really know how to proceed. Tonight, you've heard a lot of really positive information and stories about what's going on with the Democratic Party, what our state legislators are doing, what our candidates want to do in office. Have that conversation. You're going to talk about, you know, President Biden. There's going to be plenty of time for that. But why don't you talk about some of the things that we're going to do to make life better for folks here in the community, very tangible things. So to wrap it all up, I'm just going to point something out. I'll let y'all kind of percolate on that as you wrap up your evening. When you watch TV and you see a commercial for, say, Target, what does Target do? Target talks about how awesome their store is, and you see all the smiling faces and all the junk that you don't really need to buy, but you do because it's right there while you're waiting in line. And Target talks about why their store is really, really great to shop. Target does not talk trash about Walmart. Because think about it. If Target spent all their commercial time talking trash about Walmart and probably getting sued because of it, you would say to yourself, why is Target so negative? Why are they hating on Walmart? What are they hiding? What are they about? Think about that the next time you're having that conversation about politics, about, why you're a Democrat or why you're, say, voting for a Democratic candidate or why you're supporting Democratic policies. Thank you for joining us. Have a good night. We'll see you next time.